Hello everyone and welcome to this week's reviews. Stephen King's beloved series of fantasy books have finally reached the big screen. Multiple directors have tried their hands at adapting the material, and now that it's finally here, has the wait been worth it? This is The Dark Tower. I've never read the Dark Tower books, but from what I understand, they're fairly sprawling and epic novels. With this film, they seem to have truncated all the mythos of this world and condensed it into a 90-minute film. It's what I like to call the Last Airbender effect. Yep, that's where we are with this. The film is constantly feeding you exposition and explaining the world, and yet it still feels like not enough is explained. This was clearly messed around with in the editing room, because the final cut is an incoherent mess, and it rushes through one scene after another and expects the audience to follow along. 1 minute we're in a western town, meeting some characters that won't be important afterwards. Then the next moment we're in modern-day New York and recycling jokes from a million fish-out-of-water comedies. The film follows a young boy named Jake Chambers. Why is he so special? I don't know. Because he has The Shining? Yes, The Shining is a thing in this movie. I wondered if they were trying to set up a Stephen King cinematic universe, but then I remembered Sony doesn't own the film rights to The Shining, and Carrie, and It, which Warner Brothers is releasing next month. Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey are somehow utterly boring in this, with Elba lacking any chemistry with Jake, and McConaughey not being the least bit threatening as the villainous Man in Black. Have you ever watched a film and noticed how much has been spliced from the finished product? Because this is one of those. There are scenes that are clearly longer sequences, but they've now cut them up and repackaged them as dreams Jake constantly has. This is a choppily edited and incoherent mess. And I think fans of The Dark Tower absolutely deserve better than what's been delivered here. Next up is Kathryn Bigelow's account of the 1967 Detroit riots and the horrible incident at the Algiers Motel in Detroit. This is a difficult film to watch, and by that I mean it takes a subject matter that is not pleasant and does not sugarcoat it. This is very much a three-act film, with the majority taking place at the Algiers Motel, where policemen tortured and brutalized a group of young black men and 2 white women for completely prejudiced reasons. There is no attempt to sanitize the historical event or make it more palatable to an audience. The film is frightening and tense, but Bigelow does not manipulate the viewer. She directs the scenes in the most historically accurate manner possible and puts the viewer in the middle. Prior to this, she provides the necessary context for who these people are and allows them to develop and change differently through the course of the evening and the effect this has on them afterwards. As the lead racist policeman, Will Poulter is particularly scary, and you really hate him from the second he shows up. John Boyega, meanwhile, plays a security guard stuck in the middle of trying to figure out how to resolve this issue, and we see the wheels constantly turning in his head. All of the other actors work great too. The situation is scary enough as it is, but by going as realistic as possible, it makes it even more frightening, especially when one sees the news reports today and finds these sort of events are sadly commonplace. There's an odd animated prologue I'm not sure entirely worked, but the film as a whole shows precisely why there's racial tension in the United States. It's hard to leave this film and not feel angry towards those who participate in such brutalities. Detroit is a film you need to be in the correct mood to watch, but if you're up for it, I highly recommend seeking it out. Thank you for watching this week's reviews, and I'll see you next time.